Hi guys, welcome back to CAMNES Studio. Today, in this episode, we're gonna take a look to an archaeologist's bag. What's inside, what he is using to excavate on those trenches. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay, so we're ready to dive in and try to see what we have inside a bag. A bag that is commonly used by archaeologists on site. So let's start exactly from the bag actually. As you can see, this is just a normal bag I've adopted, nothing really special. But the good thing, the cool thing, is that it's cram-filled with a lot of little pouches, dozens of pockets of big and small compartments. That is very useful because you're going to try to put different things. For example, stuff for drawing and recording, for surveying, other stuff for excavating, other stuff for recording the materials, to write down the tags and things like this. So it's very useful already from the start, I want to say this, to have a bag with a lot of compartments. Okay, let's try to see what's inside here. I would start from the simple things that we all need when we're excavating in order to do our work in the proper way with no problems, no issues. What am I talking about? Something very simple. So, first of all, I would say this. Yes, sunscreen, okay? This is absolutely fundamental, I would say, to have optimal protection because the sun, especially in the Middle East and some places, it's really, really hot. Following this aspect, we must include also a water bottle. Yes, here it is. Just a normal water bottle, which obviously you don't need if there's already a water supply on the excavation. Usually that is the case. If it's not, obviously bring your own. And to conclude this part of protection, where are we taking care of ourselves, is obviously a good old hat, which can be something like this, like a baseball cap, or better, something more like this. This is all squished and crammed, but as you can see, it's very large, so it creates shade around your head, okay? It's something that protects your ear, the back of your neck, fundamental. Okay, guys? So that's the part regarding ourselves. Okay, let's start to see the instruments, the main instruments, okay? Now let's make some space over here. So I want to start immediately with my trowels. Yes, here they are. I got this leather pouch, very nice, with Marshalltown. But obviously you don't need that. It's very useful because it also has this part, so you can hook it on your belt. I just put it in my side pocket of my pants sometimes, or I just keep them all together in my pocket. I have 3 trowels. Now, I want to say right from the start that I'm not going to say too many things on trowels because an upcoming video of Stefano is really going to go into this topic, okay? I'm just going to say what I'm using and why I'm using it. Okay, so the first main trowel, the basic one, I would say this is the most important of all, the classic pointing trowel by WHS, England. They invented it. This is the best because it's forged, it's all one single piece. It's never going to break. It's very hard. It's very difficult to break. And it is sturdy. Whoa, baby, if it's sturdy. And this is for, I would say, all purposes. I mean, you can just excavate easily any type of terrain, okay? This is the middle ground, we could say, and it's good for everything. I also have 2 other trowels to do different things. I have this little guy, which again is another pointing trowel. Very small. Sometimes you can find these in prehistoric sites. And the good thing is when you have when you're cleaning, for example, stone structures, or also when you're excavating very, very difficult and hard grounds, this is fantastic. If you also have to dig around things, this is just fabulous. This can do it, okay? No problem. You don't have to have these. But once you've tried this, when you have something a little more stiff, a little more solid, a little more compact, this is really going to come in handy, in my opinion, especially on prehistoric excavations. We're mainly talking about, obviously, historic excavations, okay? Even proto-historic. In the Middle East, we go all the way so much back in time. If you're excavating something in the Paleolithic, it has to be different, okay? Much more detail, much more precise, smaller instruments. It's different, completely different. Here we have something that is good for the majority of your excavation types. As we have seen, I've discussed the different excavation types and why you should be exposed to them. Take a look at that link. Okay, my third trowel, these two were WHS. This is the famous Marshalltown from America, USA. And I love this one because it's very flexible. Yes, very, very soft. So it's perfect to remove softened ground, soil, just to move and make clear, or even if you want to fill up a bucket or something like that, this is very, very handy. Especially, for example, if you want also a little more sensitivity when you're excavating something, since it's so thin and nice and flexible, you can really have a special sensitivity of what you're doing. Okay, so these were the trowels. Then we're gonna focus on something I find just as important. Absolutely. Stefano, for example, does not believe in that. I do. A lot of other archaeologists do. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Engel Archaeologist Handpick. Oh, baby. Yes. Now, this may seem just a normal handpick, but this was designed for archaeology by an archaeologist, by Engel, in the past century, or even earlier maybe, I don't remember. In any case, it's very difficult to find a good handpick of this type, because a lot of times this is a point. Instead, as you can see, this is flat, very, very useful. Plus, on the other side, you have this type. Now, mine is completely worn out, so it's not, doesn't have a point anymore, but you should keep your instruments nice and sharp. So, as you can see, it has a special protection. This is very lightweight, so you can excavate a lot with no problems for hours, I would say. Together with a trowel, we will see this. We will do this on site, obviously, in the future videos when we're on a trench or something, and we'll see also with Stefano. He's an excellent excavator, so we'll give you a little more of practical instructions. In any case, I just want to highlight the importance of this. For me, it's just as important as the trowel. The trowel is a little more for detail stuff when you're trying to put in light a strata, a layer, and there are small objects like small rubble, things like that. This is just fantastic. So useful, so useful. Also in combination with the trowel. Okay. Absolutely very, very important. Let's pass to another set of instruments. This is a small pouch I made. Actually, my wife made it for me. This was a present. It's a nice handmade pouch. You can find them online. A lot of people are making them also in leather, very nice. You can also use just a normal bag. Who cares? The important is what's inside. What's inside here? Well, here we have the instruments you need to excavate small things, objects, when objects start to come out. Obviously, if we're just digging pieces of ceramic, the trowel is excellent. When you're starting to find more delicate objects or even bones, human remains, beads, jewelry, anything, metals, you're going to start to want to have with you precision instruments, okay? And as you can see here, we have a set of these. These are borrowed, we could say, from clay molding. These instruments are used from sculptures to somehow model the clay, very simply. But they're perfect to work around objects, to scoop around dirt, to remove it. And then this one, like this one, for example, it's almost like a little trowel. Very, very handy. I was also lucky once to find this, which is very useful. This, as you can see here, it's broken. That's why they gave this to me. This is a dentist pick in surgical steel. So this is almost indestructible, almost, because as you can see, we're missing a piece. But this little pick is very, very handy when you really have to dig in hard soil, concretions around a specific little object or a specific little item. Also to clean it off. Sometimes it can also be useful to clean something off. Together with some little brushes, obviously. I'm not going to put a large brush, a shovel. Obviously, I'm not going to show you a pail or something like that, or the sanduk or anything like that, because those are items you're going to find directly on the excavation, okay? I'm just showing the small little objects you're carrying with yourself. Okay, so these, I would say, are the main instruments to excavate. From larger or more rough to something more precise in detail. What else? Well, it's always good to have a set of bags of different size. You never know what you may find. Small, big, also teeny tiny for small elements. This is always handy. You never know what you're going to find. I always have a few in order to be able to isolate some objects and then report them, bring them back to the house, to the mission, wherever it is, so they're nice and protected. Obviously, you're going to need, also, it depends also from the strategy you're using on your excavation, but usually you're going to have something like this, tags, where you write down all the different info of the stratigraphic unit, where you excavating, what is the context that this item is coming from, and this is going to go inside the bag, but we'll take a look at that in the future, no problem. But in any case, this obviously is something that goes together with a nice Sharpie. Then I think we must also carry with us a few elements to record our impressions, our ideas, also do some rough sketches. So let's introduce one of the main elements, and there's going to be a dedicated video on this of an archaeologist and while he's excavating. The Excavation Diary. This is where an archaeologist writes down everything. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be precise in order. This is something rough where you write anything, where you, even your thoughts, your interpretations, what's happening in a different strata, in a specific context, and also to do some drafts, some sketches of what's happening. So in order you can remember what was taking place in that specific area, in that specific context, once again. So this is a paramount aspect. Again, we're going to come back in a dedicated video. So obviously, you're going to record also, you're going to start drawing perhaps also a grave, a structure, something like that. In most cases, that is still done by hand, not everywhere. For example, we're using photography now with a reference meter. That's the only thing that I'm missing, unfortunately. I forgot to say. A north with a reference meter is very handy also to take some random pictures very quick, because you need a reference. Otherwise, you do not know the dimensions of what you're photographing, okay? And where is the north, so you know the orientation. So here's a picture of what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me because it's back in the mission house. So that's why. Oh, I forgot. Also handy to trowel, a nice little glove, something like this. Very, very useful. Here we go. And some tools, as you can imagine, to draw, to sketch, perhaps maybe even a caliper, but that's not 100% useful. Here we have a pencil, precision pencil. That's very helpful, but also something a little larger, as you can see. Lead pencils of different types. As you can imagine, maybe even some little things like that. These are also useful. Rulers like this for drawing. We'll see that more in detail in a dedicated video once again. Also erasers, some pens, pencils, anything that is useful to write down, to draw. And if you do not have somebody that is going to make a survey, it's not going to let's say, record what is happening through photography, and you have to draw everything by hand, obviously you're going to need a set of instruments to do that. Again, we're also going to see that in a future video. Plus, fundamental mandatory is also a tape measure in order to measure the distance, the trench, things, how distant they are, how thick they are, how tall they are. This obviously is another fundamental instrument to record, to understand what is going on and give more detail also in your archaeological journal. And okay, that is all. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this brief tour. Obviously, these are the tools, the ones you saw, that I am mainly using. I'm sure that the core, the basic tools, most of them that I showed you, every archaeologist is actually using them. But of course, every archaeologist has his own items in his bag. So I gave you mainly my perspective. Don't take it for objective, okay? In any case, in the future, we're also going to see other videos dedicated to different instruments related to different sectors of an archaeologist activity. So, for example, illustration, survey, remote sensing, photography, anything regarding computers, GIS, several things, okay? In the upcoming videos, Stefano is going to focus on the trowel, on this mythical archaeologist tool. So that's why I was really brief on those. And remember, though, that even though the videos of Stefano are mainly in Italian, in the lower part of the YouTube player, you can find under that little gear, and selecting the different options, you can select subtitles in the language you prefer, also English, okay? Please bear in mind that, okay? It's not only mine in English and those are Italian, you cannot access those. Remember that. Okay, so apart from this, please leave your comments here below. Tell us what are your tools, what are your favorite tools, favorite types of trowel, picks, anything that's in your bag or that you think should be in the bag. And apart from that, remember that understanding our past defines our future. Thank you. Hi guys, if you want to discover more about archaeology and our ancient past from a different perspective, make sure to click on the CAMNES logo here below. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you will never miss an episode and join the archaeological community in search of the truth.